How do you feel after doing your first 100K a month?
It felt surreal and crazy and exciting, and at the same time it felt super normal, and like, of course we hit that. I would hover between 30 and 50K a month, but I definitely had a few things that kept me there, but one of them was that belief of like, I didn't have to work more or harder or longer to reach the result. It was just little tweaks that have big ripple effects. One of them being,
How do you feel after doing your first 100K a month?
yeah, really good. I knew it was the right time. That's why I was like, nah, I'm making this happen, because I'm like, I feel really ready for it. Everything set up to make it possible. And yeah, I just have this new sense of belief that that's not just a once-off thing, but can be a repeated thing every month, you know? So I feel really good. It felt surreal and crazy and exciting. And at the same time, it felt super normal and like, of course we hit that kind of thing. So yeah.
But when we first started, which was actually December, that you were probably
Yeah.
where were you currently at the business roughly around then?
Yeah, I would hover between 30 and 50K a month, you know, like that was like the ballpark. So I would say like roughly 40-ish K months, but I definitely had, well, a few things that, you know, kept me there, but one of them was that belief of like, to make significantly more than that, like 80K plus months would require more work, more time, filling my calendar. And because that's not what I wanted, I think I stayed in my comfort zone of 30 to 40K months, because I had really been there for quite a long time. So yeah.
But I guess would you say that you actually end up doing more work though? That's the thing, right? Because you have to
No.
remove things to
Yeah, it was
actually
the belief. It was the belief. So I didn't have to work more or harder or longer to reach the result. It was little tweaks that have had big ripple effects. One of them being incentivizing and charging for pay in fulls. Like, you pushed me on that so many times, and I had so much resistance in the beginning. But then when I started doing it, I realized, oh, people can pay me in full and people want to pay me in full. And I make a lot more money and have a lot more security from me and the client when they do so. Like, it solves a lot of problems.
100%. I think the pay in full thing is huge, right? Because like it sounds good that you have like reoccurring revenue, but like if you look at the biggest companies in the world that went bust, they don't actually have the money. Like it doesn't actually exist, right? Like it's just easier if you can just get the payment then. And yes, of course, like there's other struggles that come with that. You have to learn sales more. You have to actually like learn objection handling more. But you actually get the money though. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so much better. So I'm really glad that I made, you know, it seems like a seemingly small tweak, changed like not much else, and like got way bigger results.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy. I didn't even think about it from that perspective. Because you've always ran your events. And I think one thing that was very unique for you, and I guess I can learn from you as well in this, is how you've always like consistently smashed those like monthly free workshops or paid workshops.
Yeah. So I've been running them pretty much since I started my business. Like, I've run them like every month. And for many years I was like coming up with a new one every single time. And then I started to realize I could just master one and like nail it instead of constantly reinventing the wheel. So I've definitely even learnt lots of lessons over the years regarding events. But I find that, just like you talk about long form content, like you talk so much about the power of that in terms of YouTube or the podcast, events is the same thing. It's long form content that people need to consume. And I think that, you know, there's obviously benefits to YouTube, there's benefits to podcasts, there's benefits to Evergreen, but there's also benefits to like a live workshop, whether that's free or paid. That live element can really help people get into that energy and make a decision sooner rather than later, over maybe needing to listen to 4 or 5 podcasts, for example.
Yeah, really good point. I think one thing that's very interesting for you as well, because your offer is specifically for like women, and you made a great
Yeah.
observation last week, which is like you don't kick people through like a funnel, which is kind of very similar to us, where it's not like push selling. So like, how do you think you were actually able to hit those numbers? Like, what was actual the driver from like a client perspective?
Yeah, so we definitely there was a variety of ways we made money in that month to hit 100K. Like, you know, I've got, you know, a program for like newer coaches and then more of an established program. We had people join both and pay in full for both of them. But then I also have that like VIP one-on-one add-on, and 2 people paid in full for that. And with that being 10K USD each, that's 20,000 US dollars for for just 2 people joining that. And in Australian dollars, that's $30,000. So you can see that that's quite a percentage of 100K. So that's like charging for a premium offer, of course, contributed to this happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think we talk about this a lot with your offer, the fact that you've had to refine the 5K fast track to like really segregate like a part of your audience. So it's like people that are beginners.
Yep.
There's something about like earlier stages. And if you look at the kind of the graph of people, most people are going to be on that scale. And then you have scale school, and then you have your VIP. So it's like part of that ecosystem is just having the right offers in place so that people can just buy them on their own versus you saying, oh, like you have to go here, you have to go that. Like, that is a unique position to be in versus like, I feel like most coaches just have like one offer, and then as a result, it never really actually scales.
Yeah, and if you think about it, was my buying journey with you. I came to you because someone recommended you for being the go-to person for podcasts. So my only intention with you was actually to learn how to grow my podcast, because that was like, it wasn't like a massive, massive pain point. It was just like, it was something where I was like, I know my podcast has more potential and I don't know what else to do to grow it. And I really quickly looked at your sales page, after someone had recommended you. I'd never heard of you before. And I think I sent a message or two back to you. And then I was like, this is accessible. There's a Black Friday offer. And I paid in full. And I was expecting to learn heaps about the podcast, and I did, and it was fantastic. But what I quickly realized in that lower ticket offer is that you were giving so much of your time and effort and personalization to me. Like, you were sending me Loom videos. You were like just going so deep. And that was something I was lacking at that time, was like someone in my business with me, which I really loved. And then when I learned that you had a mastermind where there's like even more one-on-one support, I was like already sold, because I was like, well, if this is the amount of personalization and one-on-one and care factor you're giving in a course, imagine working one-on-one with you, like actually having one-on-one calls, one-on-one message support. Like, that's just what I was really craving. And so I guess, I started in one offer and really quickly upgraded to another with you. So it was the same thing, having that offer suite.
Yeah, I love that. And I think at the end of the day, like that's why you've done so well too, right? It's just like you actually care. Like that, like that's like there's a big factor here of like actually caring about one, the result, and like to your clients, right? Which is why people have stuck with you for so long. Like, you're not new to this space, which is like the best part of this. Like, I think the best position that you're in is like you know your stuff, right? You know your workshops, you know your ads a lot better than I do. And then it's easy for you to help people. And then it's like, okay, values aligned. Both of you guys are very interested in the same thing. But a lot of your entrepreneurs are kind of on the freedom side, like you are too. You want to have like that lifestyle as well. So that's super, super important. I think one other thing as well that's big apparent is like how you did go back to calls. I feel like the call was a huge thing for you too, right? Because I feel like if you want to make those big numbers, like you literally swap back to a call funnel, and like that did make a big impact. Would you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I tried to sort of outsource sales, and I know that there's an integration period with that, and that was challenging in a process. But then yeah, I very briefly attempted, like, what would it look like to sell without calls, but then really, calls was a big part of this. And I realized, I think I had a belief that I wasn't good at sales, or that like I didn't like them. But when I actually doubled down on it, I realized, actually, no, I'm really good at selling. I'm really good at sales, and this is really fun. And when I sort of changed my perspective on that and started doing them, I didn't have an issue with it, and I wasn't trying to cancel calls or not do calls anymore. And I leaned into it. So I think it was more of an energy thing than anything else. And all of a sudden my close rate was like 60, 70%, obviously it changes all the time, but roughly, like, for a certain period it was that. And I think like mindset actually played a really big role in that, of like not hating them and avoiding them.
Yeah, I think like people just have a negative connotation towards it, which is like you just had to learn how to run the calls. It was pretty much simple as that. It's like you have objections. Everyone is going to have objections, and you just have to be able to actually overcome the objections. That's kind of part of like the sales call. I feel like that if you're just doing sell by chat, you never even get to the objectives or objections, right? It's always going to be like people ghosting you, you're not knowing what's going on, you're disconnected from your business, and then it's like a vicious cycle over and over again to the point that you think that you are the problem.
Yeah, and I think also like what's helping me is having healthy expectations of like it's not a healthy expectation to expect that all calls close, all sales conversations lead to sales and all of this like realizing actually no, my close rate is actually really good. Even if it's 50% or even a bit low, that's actually still an above average close rate. And the moment I didn't make that a problem, like my energy changed and therefore my close rate actually got better because I had this belief that I'm actually good at sales. And I realized you don't accidentally make millions of dollars like Sophia, you're actually good at sales. And I think I just had to like realize that instead of trying to like, you know, get rid of it, you know?
But also like that journey from like 30K to 100K, like that takes a long time, which you kind of compressed, right? Which is kind of cool to see like you've done it like, over like 6, 7 months. But like, yeah, last thing I'll say on this is like cold traffic usually closes at around 15%.
Yeah. And so I realized like actually my net's good and I just need to like recognize that and that helped.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what's the plan going forward? Like, where do you want to go to next? Like, what's the next objective?
I think like I would love just like 30K months was like my normal. I really want to normalize 100K months. Like, you know, that's our minimum. We can reach that. And, you know, and I have the belief there. And I believe I have the systems and the sales process there. And it's going to just keep looking at any root cause problems and just focusing on that and just working on work, like focusing on working smarter, not harder, of like, you know, just master one process instead of like, doing all different things all the time. And like I've just realized we have a workshop that works, we have a lead generation system that works, we have a sales call process that works. So it's like just double down on that. I will eventually, with that process, cap myself if I continue to do all the calls myself. Because you know that will just be a natural thing that happens, so that will be a problem I would need to solve for at some point. But outside of that, everything else is really set up to scale, and it's just about refining and like looking at the bottlenecks that's coming up. So I'd say consistent 100K months, and then yeah, let's skyrocket past that.
Honestly, that's so amazing. I think just like you have to have like really like take some time for yourself because you're doing this basically on your own. There's like you, a few setters with you, and Ethan. So like it's a
A
huge.
setter, a VA, and an ads manager. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I want to say a huge well done to you, and also a big thank you as well, right, for like putting your time and like trust even into like me with this because like this shit does work. It's just the fact that you just need actual patience, which is what you just said, right? It's like yes, the systems
Yeah.
work, and I think like the next step, like if you did want to get a closer in, like that's like a thing you go through for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's something that you want to do to get to like the next level, which is like we brought in 2 closers because we knew we could make 500,000 a month with 2 closers, right?
Yeah.
It's like understanding like where you want to go to. But I want to say a big thank you. You're the best.
Yeah, well, thank you. And yeah, I really appreciate like when you like I love the Loom videos. I love when you dive deep into the data and stuff. It really helps me to see shit that I can't see, you know, like because so easy to get so emotionally involved in your own business. But when you have someone looking externally and really looking at it from a root cause perspective, it's been super helpful. And so like that's the part that I really value is like seeing when you look at my business or my numbers, like what is the thing that actually is broken here or needs refinement. That's what I find so helpful.